So we were always meant to be vegan, okay? We were meant to eat plants. We were meant to eat the vegetables, the fruits and nuts and feel amazing on them and thrive on them. The bioavailability in nuts, veggies, fruits were amazing. They were good for you. Your body could absorb the nutrients and actually take them to the right places. They were advanced at the time. And when I mean at the time, I mean at the beginning of the world, where Adam and Eve resided in the Garden of Eden. Now, I am coming from a biblical perspective, but because the only way to talk about how we were meant to be vegans, I have to talk about the Garden of Eden versus now. Now, we can eat the meat. The bioavailability in meat is so much more nutritious than the bioavailability in plants. And you're probably asking, what is bioavailability? Bioavailability just means that your body is able to process the nutrients from a certain food source and utilize the nutrients and absorb it into the bloodstream and take it to the right places in the body. That's what bioavailability means. And the bioavailability in meat is so much greater than the bioavailability in plants. And God, specifically in the Bible, tells us that we can eat meat. But we were always meant to be vegan. We were always meant to be plant-based. We were always meant to eat the vegetables, the fruits, the nuts, and feel amazing on them. But we don't right now. Right now, we thrive on meat for most people. And what I mean by that is, in the Garden of Eden was the start of humankind, where Adam and Eve resided in a place where it was abundant, where nothing was broken down, deteriorating, dying. Everything was optimal. The animals were optimal. They were healthy, young. Adam and Eve were optimal. Healthy, young, vibrant. Okay? They had the tree of life to rejuvenate, revive their genes that were dying, right? Because they always needed the tree of life to survive, right? To rejuvenate, regenerate their bodies, okay? And then they had all these other fruits and vegetables in the garden that they were consuming. They did not consume animals, okay? They were perfect. They were optimal in their bodies because of the tree of life and because nothing in the Garden of Eden, nothing was broken down, nothing was killed, nothing was slowly dying. Everything was perfect. Everything was abundant. So imagine you're Adam and Eve and you're optimal and you're eating the fruit from the tree of life and you're reviving your genes again and again and again every day. And you can eat the fruits, you can eat the vegetables, and you can eat the nuts and not feel harmed. Because now there's no anti-nutrients, there's no oxalates, there's nothing negative in any of these vegetables and any of these nuts. And the nutrients as well in these fruits, vegetables, and nuts are optimal. They're bioavailable. So they could easily eat all these food groups, these plant-based food groups, and feel super healthy, optimal, alive, and thrive, and don't have to go turn the other way and look at animals as their food group. So that's what I meant by we were all meant to be vegan. God had that in mind for us when he created the Garden of Eden, when he created Adam and Eve, and they did not kill anything to eat. They just took it off plants, ate the vegetation, the fruits and the nuts. And there's a verse in the Bible, in Genesis specifically, where God says to eat of every herb of the tree, of every seed of the herb. It doesn't mention killing any animals. Okay, it doesn't mention anything about eating meat until later on in the Old Testament and until also in the New Testament. Until later on in the Old Testament and also in the New Testament. God allows us to eat meat. You know why? Because unfortunately, after Adam and Eve sinned, which is basically making a mistake against God and breaking their word against God, and committing the act of listening to somebody else besides God, listening to the serpent who told them that it's okay to eat from the forbidden tree, the wisdom of good and evil, like the tree of wisdom of good and evil. He said, why not eat from the tree? You know, what were the exact words that the serpent told Eve about eating from the tree of wisdom of good and evil? And the exact words that the serpent said to Eve, yea, has God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? ? So he just asked a question, an innocent question. A very, very short-lived conversation he had with Eve. And yet Eve and Adam made the mistake of listening to the serpent, someone who's not God, and trusted him instead of God. And that's where the trust was broken. Now they've eaten from the tree of wisdom of good and evil, which is now changing their relationship with the Lord. And now they're kicked out of the garden. They no longer have the tree of life. And now they are subjected to the curse that God placed on them and on the ground. Because God said he would curse the ground because of this, because of their downfall, because of their mistake. And God cursed the ground because of the fact that they didn't listen to him. They trusted somebody else, not him. They first broke their relationship with the Lord. And in response, God cursed the ground, cursed Adam, cursed Eve. Eve would get hard labor pains. Adam would have a very, very hard time laboring on the farm, tilling the ground. And now the ground itself is cursed. So now it's not as nutritious. It's not as abundant. Now Adam and Eve are aging. Now the ground is aging. Everything in this world is slowly aging because God cursed the ground. And also keep in mind, guys, there is the worldwide flood that did in fact happen, because I believe the Bible. I believe it's true. I don't believe in evolution. I believe that the worldwide flood happened. And imagine the foundations of the ocean is broken up so that the hot water from underneath the ground, coming from the seafloor into the ocean, now going straight out into the ocean, that goes all the way to the sky, breaks open the sky, that had a canopy, by the way, wrapped around, like a water canopy that was wrapped around the earth, that now is broken by the stream of hot water coming from the ocean floor. Okay? And I truly believe there was a water canopy, and we can talk about that in another video based on what the Bible says. The Bible says that. All of what I'm saying is from the Bible, guys, okay? And so because the worldwide flood churned the ground up, over, and side to side, it made the ground less nutritious than it was before, much more chaotic. And so now the fruits, the vegetation, the nuts aren't as nutritious. And it wasn't even after the curse, but now because of the worldwide flood, it's not as nutritious. So that's something to keep in mind when we think about, okay, we were meant to be vegans, but we're not, and we can't be in this world. It's very hard to be. And the best nutrition we can get from is from meat. And God allows that. If you read the New Testament in the Bible, God allows us to eat meat because he knows the worldwide flood, the curses he's done in the world, on the ground, has made us more, has pushed us to go towards eating meat. Okay? And that's what I say about us being meant to be vegans. When we go to heaven, us people who believe in Jesus, believe that he is the Son of God, died on the cross, rose up on the third day, right? Sits at the right arm, the right hand of God. We believe that if we believe in those things, we are saints. We're believers, as they call it. And we know we are going to heaven. And because we know we are going to heaven, we know that in heaven, there's no killings. So we probably will be vegan because we were always meant to survive without killing an animal and eating it. Because we had the fruit of life. We had fruits, vegetation, vegetables, nuts that gave us the proper nutrients because it was bioavailable, it was optimal at that time because the Garden of Eden is where God also resided in. right? Because he had a relationship with Adam and Eve. And it was a perfect utopia in the Garden of Eden. And in heaven, it will be so as well. Now, there could be an instant where God can just think about meat and it comes into fruition and a piece of slab of meat is on our plate. Sure, that could happen. But I imagine that if we have the tree of life up there with us and we are no longer subjected to our bodies degrading, we wouldn't really need meat anymore. We could just eat the fruits, vegetation, nuts without the oxalates and anti-nutrients and still be healthy and get the bioavailability that it had before from these plant-based food groups. We were always meant to be vegan. It's just right now in this world, this fallen world, we cannot. We thrive better on meat. I hope this video helped. And if you need further help in healing your gut through the carnivore diet, I specifically created a free video guide just for you about the 7 mistakes that you are committing to not heal your gut. I placed it down below in the description box. I hope you have an amazing day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.